Hey friends, it's Bells. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing fantasy book recommendations for the zodiac signs. I'm considering turning this into a series, so if you are interested in seeing other genre fiction, I'm thinking of doing horror and romance. If that's something you're interested in, please let me know, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. And without further ado, let's bring on the books. Of course, it is the beginning of the zodiac circle. We have to start with the Aries. Aries are dynamic. They are active. They are doers. If you're an Aries, when you want things, you want them now, you want them yesterday, and you are gonna do them yourself or you're gonna get someone else to do it. But either way, it's happening right now. You are exciting and vibrant and talkative, it's full of self-confidence and a little reckless. The key word that I would give to Aries is courage. The book I'm gonna recommend for you is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is a fantasy inspired by South American indigenous folktales and geography about a solar eclipse that is said to mark the unbalancing of the world. We follow Ciela, a disgraced teak, which is basically a race of mermaids, Serapio, a scarred blind young man who is the bringer of a prophecy, and the sun priest herself, and they all kinda come together for this crazy situation. The reason I picked Black Sun for you lovely Aries out there is Ciela is definitely an Aries. Oh my god. She is dynamic, she is talkative, she's confident, and she is definitely reckless, especially at the beginning of the book, but also is like super loyal and relentlessly loving to the people that she calls her friends. I think that Aries would just thoroughly enjoy reading about themselves. This is one of my favorite fantasies I've ever read. It's so vibrant and colorful. I imagine Aries as like full of vibrant colors. There's no such thing as a pastel Aries. I think for a plethora of reasons, Black Sun is a great book for all you Aries fantasy readers out there. Next in line, we have Taurus, our first earth sign. You are stubborn. You are tenacious. You have endless patience. You are very caring, affectionate, sensual, not in like the sex way, but in like you love beautiful things and textures and scents. Like you are sensuous, I guess, as a person. The word for you is dependability. I picked for Taurus Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is a reinterpretation of the European Middle Ages, and Assassin's Apprentice follows Fitz, who is a prince's bastard son who grows up in the stables of the court and is secretly tutored in the art of being an assassin because he has this like magical skill. I recommended this to Taurus because this is a very earthy book. There's not a lot of fantasy in this book. It's mostly a historical piece, and so I do consider that more of like an earthy read. Don't tell me why. The descriptions of the world are so intricate and so focused on the senses, like the feel of the rocks as you're walking through the castle kind of a vibe. And it's a very like sensitive, deep book, really following Fitz as a character. This felt like the perfect Taurus fantasy in that it's so focused on the senses in that way. Gemini! Okay, so the first thing we all know about Geminis is their duality, right? Like the idea that Geminis are two-faced, I think is kind of shitty. I think it's more correct to say that Geminis can just like read a room. They're very communicative and very intelligent people who know what kind of a vibe people are giving. They make you feel comfortable. If you're a Gemini, you are restless. You like things to change. You need your freedom. You'd really rather not be sitting down. You always want something to be doing, whatever that might be. Your word is responsiveness, because your emotional intelligence, especially in conversations and within communication, is just like top notch. The book I've recommended to you, dear Geminis, is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a fantasy trilogy set in a world where apocalypses happen like pretty regularly. So we follow a group of women who are part of a magic using group called the Origines. Basically, their magic is they can change the state of the natural world by drawing on life energy around them. So that could be within the earth and within other people if they don't know any better. Primary theme of this book is absolutely commenting on racism, but also I think climate change. I think the multiple viewpoints really caters to that like concept of duality. These women are all very intelligent, communicative, witty people. Part of the book is written in second person, which I think is really fun and creative. And when it's done well, it's done really, really, really well. And this is done really, 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 really well. I think Geminis would just enjoy reading something that is kind of different from most other books that are out there. I also also think that Geminis would love to read this with a buddy so that you can have conversations after the fact, because it definitely brought up a lot of conversations for myself. Any excuse for Geminis to have a good conversation is a good excuse. Cancer. Oh my gosh, a water sign. You guys are emotional and intuitive. You are gentle and sympathetic. You prize your security, but also love adventure. You are cautious, but also sometimes the initiator. You want to be loved. Hate that you want to be loved. You're full of contradictions. The symbol for a Cancer is a crab. You have a hard shell. You are probably harsh and grumpy or cold on a first interaction, but underneath you are a little marshmallow. Your word is loyalty. I could not pick between these two books for you. One of them I think is a really typical choice for Cancers and one definitely is not. So the first one that I think is a typical choice for Cancers is The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia, who we're gonna see a couple of times. This is a historical fantasy romance about a girl with telekinesis, Nina, who is trying to join the socialite ranks of what is called the Beautiful Ones. An entertainer who is also telekinetic and like entertains with their telekinesis is Hector, and she's immediately smitten. So Hector begins to court her, but is hiding a secret himself that is bad. I would recommend this to Cancers because you're little marshmallows. I think you'll like the romance. But because it's a Silvia Moreno Garcia, she is so wonderful with her relationships and with her character development. Like, I think you would just really enjoy the characters and really enjoy falling for these characters, just as I did. The other book that I think Cancers might like is Certain Dark Things, also by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is probably what an Aquarius would pick for Cancers, which is why it's on this list. This is a neon noir set in an alternate Mexico City with vampires that follows Adel, who is a vampire on the run. She works together with a human boy, Domingo, to escape, but it's a noir, so crime bosses, cops all start coming after her. Adel is a Cancer. She just is. She's got that hard shell, and boy, it does not crack for a fucking minute. I know that this is a horror, technically, but I want you to read this. I think you would enjoy reading about characters that are like you, that have that shell up. If y'all have an idea of what you think would be better, put it in the comments. I would love to hear. And the next is Leos. You are the star in the sky, the sun in your life. You are the ruler of your own kingdom. Everything is dramatic, everything is theatrical. You are witty, vivacious, an entertainer. You usually have really good hair, and you just hate the boring nature of everyday life. Pride is your Achilles heel. You can be a fantastic friend, but you want to be thanked for being a fantastic friend, you know? Your book, and I bet anyone could see this coming from a mile away, is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. So Mistborn follows Kelsier, who is a rebel leader trying to take out the Lord Ruler of this world. And it also follows Vin, who is a scrappy orphan who survives in the slums. And the magic is based off of like metals. So depending on what metal you are able to burn, you can do different like magic abilities. And Kelsier and Vin are both Mistborn, so they can use all of the metals and do all of the magical abilities. Kelsier is a Leo. Kelsier is just a Leo, and he is lovely. All the pitfalls of being a Leo, all of the wonderful things of being a Leo. He is a leader and charming, definitely believes he is the center of the world and totally invincible. Kelsier is a fantastic friend. The story is great, the fantasy is great, the magic is fun. Brandon Sanderson makes such lovely characters. I think Kelsier is the absolute best Leo I've seen in a book. He's the perfect level of kind of insufferable, but also you love him so much. Leos, I think you would enjoy reading this book. I think you would just have fun watching Kelsier be who he is. I mean, we're taking down a government. Don't we all love stories about taking down the government? I don't know, I do. Our next zodiac sign after Leos are Virgos. You guys like to do stuff. You are more exhausted sitting down than you are like going out and having a full day. Virgos like equal virgin. No. I disagree with that completely. I don't think you're prudish at all. I would suggest you are very pure of purpose. You want to be useful, you want to take your energy and like make something practical out of it. You Virgos are intelligent, analytical, clear thinking, great in a crisis, and you might have a hard time getting in touch with your deeper feelings, but you really thrive in one-on-one relationships. So the word I have for you is conscientiousness. That's how I say that, right? Yeah. I just discovered this series and I really love it. That is Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This story follows headmaster Thomas Senlin as he goes on a honeymoon to the Tower of Babel, what is called the Tower of Babel, which you can see here, with his wife Maria, and promptly loses her. But the whole thing follows him as he traverses the impossibly tall tower to try to find her, and like runs into a lot of problems along the way. That's the best way I can describe it. This is a very like earthy book. I'm gonna say that with all of the earth recommendations, the earth sign recommendations, because earthy books are very particular, very grounded in reality. They're not super heady. There's not like a lot going on. Earthy books, and for me, they're generally very focused pieces, and this feels like that. I just think it's an earthy book. I think it's about an analytical, clear thinking person who kind of has to muddle their way through a place that is grimy and not straightforward. And I just think Virgo will enjoy a kind of different fantasy hero who's not like a Kelsier, vivacious, reckless, rebel leader. Next we have Libras. My lovely partner is a Libra. Libras are generally pretty easy to like, generally pretty charming, great listeners, and they love loveliness. They love pretty people, they love pretty things, they love pretty music, they love pretty movies, they love art, like they just love lovely things. Also love relationships, friends and otherwise, and are really good at seeing other people's point of view. Libras can like stifle their own feelings sometimes to keep the peace, so they're considered kind of indecisive. Your word is charm. The book I have for you is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is about Wallace, who has died and is taken to the way station between life and whatever comes afterwards. This way station is a tea shop run by the ferryman Hugo, who helps Wallace come to terms with the fact that he's dead and kind of helps him find his humanity throughout the story. Hugo is a Libra. Hugo is so charming and so sweet and so empathetic, gets along with everybody, absolutely stifles his own feelings to keep the peace, to do what he thinks is right. I love him. I love Hugo. I love him. I think Libras will love the romance. I think you will love the way that this book is written. TJ Klune makes the everyday life feel magical, feel lovely, and I think Libras will just love that. Next, we've got the Scorpios. You are the sign of extremes. We talked about how Cancer is kind of full of contradictions. A Scorpio is like that, but like dramatic. You're independent and clingy. You are passionate and cold. You are powerful and you are weak. It is about intensity. Nothing is done halfway for you. Your word is idealism. Your intense emotions make you see a world that is as you think it should be. You have that intensity and that drive to make that world a reality for you. I wanted to give you something epic. I wanted to give you something that was a big standalone, chunky boy that you can just get thoroughly wrapped up in the emotions and the intrigue and the politics and like all of it. You'll know where this is going already. You Scorpios get Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. As your recommendation, this is an epic fantasy following a queen who is pressured into having a baby, a sorceress trying to protect said queen, and a dragon rider who are all drawn together to basically save the world. You deserve the stakes. Man, are the stakes so high, they are out of frame. Everything from romantic crushes to the politics, to the like actual big world ending thing, all very intense, all very deserving for you lovely Scorpios. So go off, be free, and enjoy. Sagittarius, you are our final fire sign of the zodiac. You are cheerful, optimistic. These are the people who are just lucky. They just breeze through life. Life is just pretty good for them. Even if it's not, like Sagittariuses have such a wonderful, optimistic outlook on life and on things. They just have such an expansive personality. You are independent, you are a free spirit, you're always searching for more, whether that is in travel or in higher education or whatever, you're searching for just more. Your word is optimism. The book I have picked for you, dear Sagittarius, is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. This is a retelling of the story of Theseus and the Minotaur from the Princess Ariadne's perspective. So she is the Minotaur's sister who falls in love with Theseus and helps him kill the Minotaur and escape. Basically, the story follows how Theseus is not the man that she thought he was, and she kind of has to come to terms with that. We talked about how Sagittarians are constantly searching for more. Often, Sagittarians love travel, and Ariadne really travels around Greece, and you get such a sense of the space and the world. I think Sagittarians will love this world building. I think you will love the story structure. I think you will love the characters. I think you might relate to Phaedra, but I think you'll like Ariadne. There you go. Capricorns. Capricorns are ambitious, determined, patient. A lot of people will say that you are not creative because they will generally see like that practicality that is that aura around you because you are such like a determined, specific, earthy person. You are super creative and you like using that ambition to use that creativity in like the best ways. You also generally feel like you can depend only on yourself and really dislike ambiguity. You like your black and white villains. Your word is steadiness. I've also given you Capricorns 2 book recommendations. The first one is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is a Gothic horror following Noemi, who goes to a secluded house deep in the countryside to try to rescue her cousin from the family she is married into. I picked this for you, Capricorns, because Noemi is incredibly ambitious. She's doing this so she can convince her dad to like let her go to grad school. She is very determined to help her cousin. That never changes. She never wavers. She is practical and smart. Not exactly your typical rescuer and definitely not a Capricorn, but it feels like Capricorn actions that she is taking, if that makes sense. My second pick for you is Dune by Frank Herbert. This follows the adventure of a young man, Paul Atreides, who is the heir to a noble family that is trying being the operative word, to rule the desert planet Arrakis. The family is betrayed and he must become the prophesied one that the people who are indigenous to the planet of Arrakis believe him to be. Dune is also a very practical, earthy, determined book. The thing that really stuck this one home for me, Paul has to decide actively to be the prophesied one that everyone says he is. He has to actively make that choice and follow that pathway and not waver from it, and he doesn't. I couldn't decide between Dune and Mexican Gothic because both of them are very earthy books to me. Both of them are about very determined people trying to do one specific thing in what is not necessarily a black and white situation, but like you know who the villains are and you know who the good guys are. And I think that's something that Capricorns will thoroughly enjoy, whichever one you end up picking. So if you do read either of them, let me know and tell me if that was a good pick for you or not. Aquarius. Okay, so I'm an Aquarius. I did a whole video where I read Aquarius recommendations, which I'll put up here. Aquarians were weirdos. That's like the first thing everyone says is like Aquarians are the weirdos of the bunch. Intellectually independent, big thinkers, and generally considered very progressive, very humanitarian. You almost love people and humanity as a whole more than you love actual human beings themselves. The word I have for you, Aquarius, is friendliness, because you are generally friendly and open. You're like good at making people feel loved. The book I have for Aquarians is one that I read in that video. Couldn't escape it. They were good recommendations. This is The Deep by River Solomon. So this is about water-dwelling descendants of pregnant African slave women who were thrown overboard by slave owners. These people, these descendants, live in the deepest waters of the ocean. In this society, one person, who is called the historian, is tasked with remembering the trauma that their ancestors endured. So Yetu is that historian in this time, but the memories have stacked up so much over 600 years that they're like basically tearing her apart. And so she flees to the surface without them to learn about the real world that she inhabits. This is absolutely like a humanitarian book. It's based off of a song written by David Diggs. So this book is expanding on the world from this song, which I think is really cool. It's really asking a lot of questions and reimagining this horrible, horrible situation as a way to create a whole other society. Like, what if these women, instead of being thrown to their deaths, what if because they were pregnant, their babies developed gills and were able to live underwater and are just flourishing? It's a relatively short read, but it really packed a punch. It is about that independence that we so crave, that freedom that we so crave, but it's also about the importance of community and humanity and why history is important. Like, it's a very Aquarius book. You're gonna learn something reading this, and I think Aquarians, if you're anything like this Aquarian, will probably enjoy that. And our final sign of the zodiac is Pisces. You are our final water sign. You're at the end of the circle. Some even say that Pisces are like a link to the spirit world, or all Pisces are old souls, which I think is very sweet and whimsical and lovely. Pisces, you are subtle and intuitive and sympathetic. You are very sensitive to others' plights, almost in a dangerous way to yourself, because you can get overwhelmed in your empathy. You are very intellectually curious, imaginative, and find yourself often as like an accidental leader and role model. So your word is compassion. The book that I would recommend to you, my dear Pisces, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is about two magicians, Celia and Marco, who are dueling in what is called the Night Circus, which is like a magical black and white circus that appears around the world in moments, it seems like. But these two characters don't know why they're dueling or what the end purpose is going to be, just that they have to compete. But they wind up falling in love with each other. This book is so freaking whimsical and so intricate and also kind of spiritual. I love the romance for my Pisces out there. I think you deserve to sink your teeth into something complicated and lovely. But this book is so like all-encompassing in the way that it's written. You can like smell the cinnamon from the Night Circus like food stands. You can like feel the tent wrapping around you. I just think this is the perfect book for Pisces to escape into, and it's about curious and sensitive people and is a very sweet love story to boot. Those are all the books that I have recommended to all of the different zodiac signs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you'd like me to do more in this series, because this is fun to put together. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Don't forget to go and watch this video if you're looking for something new from me to watch, and I will see you all next time.